This is Good Morning Indiana, working for you.
Good morning and thanks for joining us. I'm Nicole Griffin. Lauren Casey has the morning off. We have a lot of news to get to this morning, but first, coming up on Good Morning Indiana, we want to dig into the new Stage 3. Marion County will be moving into Stage 3 with the rest of the state. And here's what that means right now on your screen. Indoor dining will be allowed at restaurants. Fitness centers will be able to open at 50% capacity. Community pools will also be able to open at 50% capacity. Public gatherings of up to 50 people will now be allowed in Marion County, and salons can now open by appointment. We are going to break this all down coming up on Good Morning Indiana, but that will start on Monday, June 1st. We also have the very latest on the COVID-19 numbers here in Indiana. Those will be broken down throughout the morning here on Good Morning Indiana as well. 370 new cases in the state, a total of 32,400 total cases. 21 new deaths have been reported, and 1,871 total deaths so far in the state. We do expect new numbers to be released today at noon, and we will bring those to you on the noon news. We want to now get to your Storm Team 6 forecast with meteorologist Todd Klassen. Todd, it is warm as you step out the door this morning.
Yeah, Nicole, not much has changed temperature-wise here across the area. We're still sitting in the 60s and 70s. That's where we started off so many mornings this week. And once again, as you see in the center of your screen on Storm Team 6 radar, we are dealing with showers out there. Yesterday, we had that heavy rainfall move through. We're starting to see some decent rain approach the Bloomington area. And on the eastern side of the state, we're dealing with a little bit of rain from Muncie over into portions of the Richmond area. So you'll have to have the umbrella handy throughout the day today, as we are going to be dealing with showers off and on. They're probably a little more widespread today than they have been the past few days across the area. With that said, though, it's not a complete washout, but when it does rain, well, it have the potential to be locally heavy. Temperatures still a little on the cooler side than they have been the past few days at 80 degrees, but it remains very muggy. So it's just a very typical, almost summer-like day here, Nicole, with warm temperatures, the muggy conditions, and the chance of some showers and storms off and on throughout the day.
All right, Todd, thank you. Well, summer break has already started for many students across the state. It's the end of a year that was already interrupted by the coronavirus, and some parents are focusing on keeping their kids learning because of the pandemic and the interruptions it has caused. This morning, our Kelsey Anderson will dig into that. We will have much more coming up on Good Morning Indiana, your news, weather, and traffic. Stay with us.
This is Good Morning Indiana, working for you.
Marion County is marching forward in the plan to reopen. This morning, we're detailing what's allowed and what's not in the days ahead. Plus, an increase in domestic violence calls is putting those helping victims in a tough spot.
Personally, it's a must. We need this right now.
How you can help make sure victims have a safe place to go. And we all could use a few laughs these days. We're looking at how one of Indy's oldest comedy clubs is using a new way to make Hoosiers laugh. Thanks for starting your morning with us here on Good Morning Indiana. I'm Nicole Griffin. Lauren Casey has the morning off. We want to first start with your Storm Team 6 forecast. Meteorologist Todd Klassen standing by. Todd, stepping outside, it is very warm already this morning.
Yeah, temperatures are sitting in the 60s and 70s here, Nicole, and that's where we've been almost every morning so far this week, and we've been able to get the temperatures into the mid to upper 80s. Today, a little different. There's a little more in the way of cloud cover in the forecast for the day today, and that's going to keep the temperatures a little closer to 80 degrees. We are dealing with some rain already this morning as you make your way down into the Bloomington and Seymour area. Some pockets of heavier rain, no lightning, so this is just plain old rain, which is always better than dealing with lightning and the thunderstorms, but this is sliding to the north. Bloomington, Nashville, Columbus, you'll be up next with some of this rainfall. And then off to the east, Richmond to Hagerstown, up into southern portions of the Randolph County area, and Winchester, there's a few spotty showers. So it's just very unsettled today. There's more clouds than sunshine, but there will be some dry hours mixed in. Here are those temperatures Nicole was talking about. 68 in Indy right now, as well as Bloomington, 67 over in Richmond throughout the day today. 72 degrees by the noon noon hour, still a little muggy. The humidity will go down a little bit as the day goes on, as temperatures climb into the upper 70s. And again, it's not a washout today, but I would definitely have the umbrella handy, Nicole, if you're going to be running errands, because we will be dealing with these showers off and on throughout the day.
All right, Todd, thank you. Here's a live look outside this morning at I-70 and Lyndhurst Drive on the city's west side. There's not a lot of traffic moving here in either direction at this hour, but we do want to remind you that I-70 eastbound from Ronald Reagan Parkway to the South Split is closed. It's part of INDOT's Accelerate project. The closure will last until June 28th, weather depending, and crews will work in shifts to work on those westbound lanes as well. Traveling now to the south side, here's a live look at I-65 and Keystone Avenue. Crews are doing bridge work here in this area. Here's something for you to keep in mind. Every day from midnight until noon, I-65 will have 3 northbound lanes and 2 southbound lanes sharing the southbound lanes here in this area. We will keep you updated on any crashes or delays as we continue to monitor traffic throughout the morning. We are following breaking news this morning from the city's north side. That's where officers are investigating a deadly shooting. They were called to Big Oak Drive just before 4 this morning on a person shot. That's near 56th and Georgetown Road. When officers arrived on the scene, they found a victim dead there. We are working to learn more about what exactly happened, and we will bring you the very latest as soon as we learn this new information. Now to the latest on COVID-19 and how it's impacting Hoosiers all across the state. The Indiana State Department of Health confirms 370 new cases of the coronavirus. So far, 32,400 Hoosiers have been diagnosed with the virus. Health officials also report 21 new deaths since the pandemic began. Nearly 1,900 Hoosiers have died from COVID-19. Businesses across Marion County are now looking ahead to Monday when many will be allowed to open for the first time since mid-March. Here's what's moving into phase 3. Here's what it means for moving into phase 3 for residents, visitors, and business owners. Restaurants can open for indoor dining. Fitness centers can open at 50% capacity. Community pools can open at 50% capacity, limited to 100 people total. Public gatherings can include up to 50 people. And personal service businesses like salons and spas can reopen by appointment only with personal protective equipment and social distancing guidelines. Wednesday's announcement by Mayor Hogsett is a big relief for the owner of 2 salons in Marion County. We first met Sylvia Captive last month after she reached out for help connecting to a small business loan. After RTV6 got involved, she was approved for a loan and was able to stay afloat while staying closed. Loyal customers also showed their support.
A lot of clients bought products online from this, so this helped us tremendously to stay afloat. We have a lot of clients that said we're so glad that you're able to reopen. They're just glad that we are going to be able to go back in business, and we were able to survive through this.
Well, Mayor Joe Hogsett also announced free face masks will be available to Marion County residents who cannot get them on their own. We have how you can apply for a mask right now on the RTV6 News app. The country passed a grim milestone. More than 100,000 people have died from COVID-19. As ABC's Inez de la Cotera reports, this as 14 states continue to see a growing number of cases.
This morning, more than 100,000 lives lost to COVID-19 in the U.S. That's higher than the number of U.S. military combat deaths in every conflict since the Korean War. Some of those who've left us: Paul Logan, an Indianapolis high school coach; 5-year-old kindergartner Skylar Herbert, daughter of Detroit first responders; and Rolando Aravena was a communications field technician at Verizon, sent to a New York hospital to help prepare for the surge. A week later, he fell sick.
He just looked at me and he said, "Mel, I never knew a love like this before, and I love you so much."
This country, as I say often, has been through some really challenging, terrible times. You know, world wars, depressions, 9/11. This falls in that category.
President Trump made no mention of those lost during his trip to Florida Wednesday, while his 2020 opponent, former Vice President Joe Biden, says the grim milestone could have been avoided.
There are moments in our history so grim, so heartrending, that they're forever fixed in each of our hearts, a shared grief. Today, It's one of those moments.
Meanwhile, the nation pushing on with reopening. Washington, D.C. will lift its stay-at-home order on Friday. More Las Vegas hotels are planning to reopen June 4th.
It's not burden at all. I mean, we're just trying to be safe for everybody.
Cases now rising in at least 14 states, including California.
We are moving forward. Let us not forget the most vulnerable amongst us.
Dr. Anthony Fauci also said a second wave is not inevitable and that there's a good chance the nation will have a vaccine by the end of the year. Inez de la Cuetara, ABC News, Washington.
Inez, thank you. The time now is 4:37. A deadly IMPD shooting is one recent incident fracturing the department and members of the community. Wednesday marked 3 weeks since a Metro police officer shot and killed a man on the northwest side of Indianapolis. Outside the city-county building, people wrote messages in chalk in support of Dre'Jon Reed. Investigators say Reed led police on a chase and then exchanged gunfire with an officer when he was killed on May 6th. Attorney Fatima Johnson says the family simply wants answers.
21 days since Dre'Jon Reed was murdered, and there are no answers, and there are more questions. Or who killed Dre'Jon Reed? Why was Dre'Jon Reed murdered? We know that he was murdered. The question is whether it was justified or whether it was unjustified.
Well, days after the shooting, Mayor Joe Hogsett requested the FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office monitor the investigation. Protesters gathering once again in Minneapolis over the death of an African-American man after his arrest by police. The protests follow a video showing officers arresting George Floyd on Monday. He was seen pinned to the ground with an officer's knee on his neck. Police say Floyd resisted his arrest and appeared to suffer medical distress. He died later at the hospital. Overnight, protesters were seen throwing rocks and bottles at officers who responded with rubber bullets and tear gas. Protesters also took to looting stores and even setting an AutoZone on fire. Minnesota's governor is calling on people to be peaceful if they choose to protest. More people are stuck at home because of the pandemic, and calls for help from domestic violence victims are increasing. Leaders say there's been a 125% increase in calls for help since the coronavirus pandemic started. The Domestic Violence Network says those looking to leave an abuser are having a tough time finding somewhere to go as shelters fill up. So now they're putting people in hotels, something survivors like Lucia Sheehan says can help save lives.
That type of an environment, when you're living with that, it takes a lot of strength. It takes a lot of courage to make that phone call. And if you don't get somebody to connect with right away, that could be it for them forever.
The Domestic Violence Network had about $35,000 in their hotel fund thanks to donations from the Braveheart Foundation and Central Indiana Community Foundation. But they say the money is going fast and now they need community support. The Domestic Violence Network says 100% of donations go to helping survivors. This morning we have more information on how to donate on the RTV6 News app. This morning, school leaders are brainstorming to figure out what education will look like for your child in the fall. After the break, why they may have fewer educators to teach students. Plus, if you plan on spending any time outdoors this weekend, you'll want to keep an eye out for ticks. Working for you, we're breaking down the latest warning from experts surrounding the tiny insects. Todd.
And Nicole, this weekend will be a great opportunity to get outside because a whole new air mass is going to be in place. Right now, we're still dealing with very unsettled conditions. You can see rain all across the Midwest, stretching from Cleveland back to Oklahoma City. We'll deal with these scattered showers off and on throughout the day today and tomorrow before that nicer weather arrives. We'll talk all about it coming up in your Storm Team 6 forecast. The time now is 4:40. Stay with us. We're back in just a couple minutes.
Only on RTV6.
Welcome back to Good Morning Indiana. We want to get the latest on Democracy 2020 now. This morning, Joe Biden says he's hoping to pick his running mate around August 1st. The presumptive Democratic presidential nominee made the announcement at a fundraiser on Wednesday. He also said his VP vetting committee is in the process of what he called deciding the basic cut. According to Biden, that means making sure the prospective running mates want the job and are comfortable with it. Biden has already announced he'll have a female running mate. If you're not riding trains much these days, well, you're not alone. Amtrak has seen a 95% reduction in ridership and revenues since the coronavirus pandemic started. That's driving the operator to cut 20% of its workforce. The layoffs will happen between now and October. Amtrak's CEO says the reduction is necessary to invest in the future and ensure safety. Amtrak is a for-profit company owned and subsidized by the federal government. Meanwhile, school districts struggle to figure out what classrooms will look like in the fall. They might be dealing with fewer teachers. 1 in 5 teachers who responded to a USA Today poll said they're unlikely to return to the classrooms if their schools reopen. Some are concerned about returning without a vaccine. Others worry about how they'll be able to teach effectively with social distancing measures in place. Tropical storm Bertha making landfall Wednesday along the coast of South Carolina, about 20 miles east of Charleston. The storm is expected to cause flash flooding over portions of the Carolinas. The storm also brought dangerous surf and rip currents along the coasts of the Carolinas and Georgia. This morning, the storm has moved well inland and has been since downgraded to a depression. Bertha is the second named tropical storm of the year, and the official hurricane season doesn't start until June 1st. Todd.
Yeah, and those remnants from Bertha already, Nicole, in Ohio, and I'll show you that on the satellite radar picture here coming up in just a little bit. Not going to directly impact us, but it will have kind of an indirect impact on us as we are going to kind of block up the weather pattern just a little bit once again. So here's what we're dealing with this morning as we go over to Storm Team 6 radar. And you can see there's a few spotty showers off towards the east again in Richmond, the Fountain City, Newcastle, a few sprinkles. This is an area that got hit multiple times yesterday with some heavy rainfall. And speaking of heavy rain, some heavier rain getting ready to move into Bloomington as well as the Bedford area. And this band of heavier rain sliding off towards the north a little bit. So Bloomington, it's knocking on your door. You may even be hearing the raindrops already. Then Ellettsville at 5:03. Martinsville, some showers heading in your direction by the time we get to 5:11. So here is the big picture. This swirl that you see in Ohio, that is what is left of Bertha. So it made its way from the Carolinas, and it's now making its way up into eastern Ohio and western Pennsylvania. We also have a swirl, which is an area of low pressure here off to our west. And what's going to eventually help us all out is this band of rain approaching Minneapolis. That is a cold front. And eventually this cold front is going to start to make its way off towards the east. And that is going to push all this weather off towards the east coast. And that is when our weather is going to start to improve. But that is not going to be until tomorrow afternoon and then into the weekend. So throughout the day today, if you're out running errands, I would definitely have the umbrella handy at times as we deal with some rain, especially this morning as this band of rain lifts to the north. And then there will be dry hours this afternoon with mostly cloudy skies, but still always the chance of a few spotty showers. But you will be able to get out and about, I think, at times throughout the day for that walk or maybe a run through the neighborhood or on a trail across central Indiana. But on Friday, we'll start to see the rain increase once again as that cold front starts to make its way through the area. Highs today with the cloud cover, not as warm as they have been. We'll be in the upper 70s to low 80s across the area. And then watch as this front starts to come through on Friday. We'll have a band of rain that comes through mid-morning into the early afternoon hours, and then it should make its way off towards the east. We should be able to get into the sunshine by Friday afternoon. Once we get back into that sunshine, a great stretch of weather just in time for the weekend. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, temperatures in the low 70s, lows in the 50s. You can give the air conditioners a break as the humidity will be down as well. And then we'll start to warm things back up a little bit with higher humidity as we head into Tuesday and Wednesday. But Nicole, have the umbrella handy today and tomorrow. At some point, you will definitely need it if you are going to be out and about.
All right, Todd, thank you. Well, here's a live look at I-65 at West Street near the downtown area. An earlier crash was causing a few delays here in this area, but it has since been cleared, and everything around the metro area is moving up to speed at this hour. We will keep an eye on traffic and let you know if anything pops up throughout the morning. As the weather gets warmer and you spend more time outside, be on the lookout for ticks. The tenacious pests carry Lyme disease and other illnesses that can be fatal if left untreated. Experts are seeing a high incidence of Lyme disease here in the Midwest, Northeast, and Mid-Atlantic states. The increased cases of Lyme disease could be from a population surge of ticks, more people spending time outside, or a combination of both. To protect yourself from ticks, do a full body check once you are back inside. The CDC also recommends showering within 2 hours to reduce the risk of Lyme disease. Hearing something that makes you laugh can be a bright spot in a dreary day. Coming up after the break, how one of Indy's oldest entertainment venues is taking its show online and giving you a whole lot of laughter. And all new at 5 o'clock, the coronavirus puts the brakes on the school year for students across the state. Working for you, we're looking at what you can do to encourage your students to spend the summer learning. It is 4:50. You're watching Good Morning Indiana. Stay with us. Here's a look at the hawk we've been watching and her babies nesting near the INDOT traffic camera at Sam Jones Expressway. INDOT is hosting a naming contest on Twitter. The leader is Sandy Hawkins with more than 50% of the votes. If you'd like to vote, just search INDOT East on Twitter. Sandy Hawkins, I like that. Well, it will still be at least a couple of weeks before most entertainment venues reopen around Indy. But one spot is bringing the show to you. Our Brad Brown caught up with the crew from Comedy Sports to see how the city's longest running show is making humor from home.
These days, we could all use a good laugh.
Matt, where are you?
I'm in front of my drape.
And the team at Comedy Sports Indianapolis continues to deliver the funnies in a big way.
It absolutely is a big breath of fresh air for people that have been performing for 10, 20, whatever years. Because we have to kind of re-examine what works and what doesn't work in this specific format.
Comedy Sports has had to close its Mass Ave location for now, but they made a pivot to improv on the internet. Fans can buy tickets to what's likely to be the most entertaining Zoom call you'll see.
One of the nice benefits, like unexpected things about this format is like giving people that ability and flexibility to participate maybe if they weren't as willing in a live performance.
Comedy Sports has been bringing improv entertainment to Indy since 1993. The format is pretty simple. 2 teams of performers take on improv challenges, competing for laughs and points. Having to perform without a live audience has changed the game completely.
What's the noise?
There's the sense of if you're not in the room with somebody, it's going to feel really weird. But it didn't. It was, you just kind of settled into it pretty quickly, and you're still doing the same work. You're just not sharing the physical space.
But what has remained is a night filled with laughter and a fun way to step away from the daily grind of the past couple months.
I've actually gotten to have like friends from New York and my parents in LA are all able to tune in and watch the same performance, which is really neat and like that really cool way to build that community.
Comedy Sports is doing their virtual shows live most weekends on Friday and Saturday nights. They do have a couple of free shows that you can see during the week as well. If you'd like to purchase tickets to watch online, you can find that information on the Comedy Sports website. They're also selling e-gift cards now that you'll be able to use for the live shows on the Mass Ave location once they get reopened, hopefully in the next few weeks. Working for you, Brad Brown, RTV6.
All right. Thank you, Brad. As always, a little bit of a different take on the We're Open there. And good to see those people bringing laughs to people via Zoom anywhere they can. All right, 80 degrees today, showers and storms in the forecast. There will be some dry hours throughout the day today. Areas of rain tomorrow, especially throughout the morning hours. It does get much better Friday afternoon. And then as we get into the weekend, it is absolutely beautiful. Sunny skies, lower humidity, cooler temperatures as well with highs in the low 70s. Only see things warm back up by the middle of next week, around 80 and then into the mid 80s Tuesday and Wednesday. We'll dive into this forecast in more detail with the rain that is expected today coming up when Good Morning Indiana continues. The time now is 4:57. Stay with us. We're back in just a few minutes.